Well, today's episode is going to be a very interesting one. Now, as you all know, for quite a while, I've been trying to catch up with the Yoshi Wrestling events. So we're now in the month of November, so we finally catched up with Pro Wrestling Evolution. So if you guys are not familiarized with this promotion originally started as a project for the Yoshi wrestlers, started by Suwama and Shuji Ishikawa, formerly at All Japan Pro Wrestling. And now they're making this a very fun event. And as you all know, we do have the first crowning of the Evolution Strong Women's Champion Zone. And this one features her defending the title twice. So we're going to go from every event. So there has been four of them. The first one is, of course, Volume 37, Volume 38, Volume 39, and Volume 40. So we're going to be going through A to Z on all of them. And then we move on with our last thing we're going to do, of course, is some news updates to give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of wrestling, such as what events and promotions are thrown out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK. Anywhere where wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information has been unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us or click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, enough of the jibber jabbers. As you all know, it's all about Pro Wrestling Evolution. So let's begin with Volume 37. Okay, Pro Wrestling Evolution, or we just call it Evo or Evolution. Now, I failed to mention earlier when I started this that all their shows were in Shin Kiba First Ring, one of a very small venue down in Tokyo, Japan, and it's on all shows. Now, they have done it, of course, in Shinjuku Face and possibly others, but this is where all the shows. Now, this one we're doing right now is Volume 37, and it happened on August 6th. So, as you all know, we're in the month of November, so keep up with me. Now, our first match, we have a mixed singles match. We have Aki Shizuku taking on Suwama. So basically, we have a male and a female facing off each other. Now, of course, if you guys are not familiarized with Suwama, Suwama has been well known as a top competitor in All Japan, and not to mention works as a manager and producer with Evolution. He was the one who brought the idea to light, and of course, he wrestles. And I don't know if he ever wrestled a woman before, but yes, I have to say Aki Shizuku, she did pretty good. I've seen her wrestle a lot, and she's pretty good. She has a bit of a striking capability, but this match ended, of course, in favor of Suwama when he applied a bulldog choke, which led to, of course, tap out, and just like that, completely over. Now, our next match, we have a males match. We have Toa Iwasaki versus um, Takuya Nomura. Many of you may know him, Takuma Miro. He is part of the astronauts with Fuminori Abe. Well, this one is one of those matches where they hit hard, of course, no holdbacks whatsoever. And I wasn't too sure where this was gonna go whatsoever, ending. I mean, I would have assumed that Nomura was going to pick up the win easily, but no, this match ended in a 15-minute time limit draw, which is a bummer. I mean, of course, here in the States, we don't like time limit draws, which is boring and stupid. Over there in Japan, they don't take that seriously whatsoever. They just, okay, nobody wins, nobody loses. Sooner or later, they'll get back to it, but that's how life is down in Japan, so don't ask me questions on that. Now, our next match, we have a tag team match from the Yoshi wrestlers, of course. We have Chi-Chi versus Miku Kane taking on Soy and Chika. Now, for those who don't know, recently, Chi-Chi and Miku Kane have been teaming up a lot. Not to mention, they often team up with Suri. But it's great to see these two teaming up more often because they can rely on each other. And not to mention, they were also taken under the wing of Suri, if you guys haven't been paying attention a lot. And they learned a lot from her. But yes, but thing is, when you look at some match, if you look at Chica, she is the biggest individual in the whole match. You would think how they're gonna try to put her down. I wasn't too sure. I mean, it wasn't that easy. But what surprised me, it was Miku Kane, who in fact picked up the win when she applied a jackknife onto Chica, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. It was completely over. Now, our next match, we have Fuminori Abe taking on Shuji Ishikawa, who also is part of the executive staff within Evolution, of course, and a veteran in the group. And that kind of sets it up right there. But Fuminori Abe, many of you guys who may not know, the guy is a striker and he hits hard. Now, of course, this is the kind of match Ishikawa will never back down whatsoever. But he was able to take him out when he applied a ghetto clutch, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, our main event is for the Evolution Strong Women's title. Now, for those who may not remember, um, this title happened not too long ago, like happened back in July, I believe. And Zones became the first inaugural champion, and she defeated, of course, her rival, of course, Chi-Chi for this title. And of course, many people might have thought Chi-Chi would have had the opportunity to win, but of course, it did not. Once again, Chi-Chi loses to Zones every single time in singles action. But however, in this particular day, she makes her first defense against Soy. Now, of course, it's very interesting the Soy that decides to make the initial, you know, challenge to happen. I wasn't sure if this is what it was going to happen, but it did. I mean, Soy is a very much powerhouse wrestler, and she's eager to prove herself that she can step up her game. And I have to say, I admire her spirit that she's willing to do so. But when it comes to Zones, who's been there a lot longer than her, that sets it right there. But unfortunately, it did not happen well for Soy because she ended up being lariat by Zones, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, Zones retained the title, and just like that, making her first defense. However, she did put out a post-match promo. Don't know what she said, but Miku Kane showed up. Now, it doesn't take a genius since they don't have any English-speaking commentators. Well, you probably can guess why she was there. Well, she issued a challenge for the championship, which obviously that's the reason she was there. But we'll see what happens. I think we do have that on the third review on this particular episode, so we'll get to that. But there is a preview match that will happen on the next review we're going to do, which is right now. So let's move on with volume 38. Okay, as we continue with Pro Wrestling Evolution, and as you all know, all the shows from these reviews we're doing happen in Shin Kiba First Ring. This happened, of course, on August 10th. And of course, this one is volume 39. Now, we did see Chi opening up the show, giving a promo. Have no idea what was going on, but I'm going to presume that she was greeting the fans, giving the info of the matches or whatever. But yes, that's what I think happened. Now, our opening match features, of course, singles action, mostly the men. We have Ruma Sekimo taking on Shuji Shikawa. Now, I don't know who this guy Sekimo is, basically. I'm going to presume that he's a rookie. But, of course, like any other match, Ishikawa was going to pick up the win one way or the other. He applied a driver, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, our next match, we have Soy taking on Natsu Sirime. Now, of course, many of you may know Natsu Sirime. She's a veteran wrestler. She's been around for almost 10 years. Many of you who watch Stardom knows who she is. She was part of Oedo Tai until she was injured and left. And of course, she's been doing a lot of freelancing, and she was part of Nomads for quite a while. But yes, the same Natsu Sirime. But of course, you all know that her background and of course her long standing in the Yoshi wrestling world stands out on its own. And of course, she was with the most experience, was going to pick up the win. And of course, we've seen her shenanigans, what she does in the ring sometimes, and that always plays out. And of course, Soy had to suffer from that, but unfortunately, Soy did not, even though she is a powerhouse, it did not do any favors for her until she was pinned by Natsu Sirime, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, our next match, we have Chika versus Maika Ozaki. Now, some of you can see, if you ever seen this match, Chika is in fact a much larger individual, about maybe a bit more bigger than Yu and Hashimoto. But Maika Ozaki is in the same kind of dynamic, possibly a bit more smaller, but much of a strong house, powerhouse like Hashimoto herself. And you would think, in some capacity, just by looking at this match, you would think Chika would pick up the win. No, Chika does not have the same kind of wrestling experience like Ozaki, but I was impressed with Ozaki. Despite of her size, she was able to pick up Chika and applied a torture rack. And of course, Chika had no choice but to tap out. And just like that, it was over. Now, while they took an intermission in this part, we did see before the intermission was over that Natsu Sirime came out to do a promo. I have no idea what they did, what she was talking about, but yes, so that's what it is. Now we jump back in, of course, with our next match, and it's a males match. We have Dan Tamra versus Suwama. Now, it's no secret, if you guys ever followed, these two guys know too well of each other. They have similar backgrounds. For those who don't know, Dan Tamra, he's a powerhouse, but in a junior heavyweight competition. As for Suwama, also of course, a technical wrestler, uh, but also in a heavyweight standard. And these two guys were part of a faction known as Evolution at the time, along with Hikaru Sato. And that kind of sets it up. But of course, these guys know too well what they can do. I mean, they hit hard, they don't back down, they don't hold any punches, and that's something that both of them can enjoy. But unfortunately, because of Suwama's well-standing veterancy in the Japanese wrestling scene, it helped him out because he put away Tamara with the Uranagi, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, our main event, this is considered as a preview match for the next upcoming review we're going to do. Miku Kane and Chi-Chi once again teaming up. They take on Chanyota and Zones. Now, of course, many of you know Chanyota and Zones, they have teamed up a lot. You know, this is one of Zone's various tag partners she has, either in or outside of Evolution. And they often team up sometimes. And of course, they have similar, background where they like to flex their muscles a lot. And you can consider this as a preview between, of course, Mikukane and Zones. And that kind of sets it up. Now, many of you would think, okay, Zones has to pick up the momentum on this match before she faces, of course, Mikukane. But no, this match ended just like in the last time. As you all remember, I mentioned that Mikukane defeated Zones Chika with the jackknife. But once again, she played that same move onto her, and just like that, onto Zones. 1, 2, 3, Mikukane gained the momentum, and she's heading right straight, of course, for the championship match, which is going to be our next review. So let's move on to that right now. Okay, we continue with more with Pro Wrestling Evolution. We are doing Volume 39. It happened on October 8th in Shin Kiba first ring once again. We opened up with Zones doing a little opening promo for everyone. Of course, I'm going to presume that she was reading the fans. Now, for those who don't know, she is in the main event defending the Evolution Women's Strong Championship. So we'll get to that. Now, our opening match, we have Chica versus Chi Chi. Now, of course, the dynamics of the things of this match you would know. I mentioned several times that Chica, as you all know, she's a much bigger individual. But when it comes to Chi Chi, she has far more better experience than her. She has been with the promotion the longest. As you all know, I mentioned Chi Chi, Zones, and Sunny were the first original three girls that started the whole thing. But due to Sunny now no longer being a wrestler, she is a referee, but that leaves Oni Zones and Chi Chi in the matter. But of course, you would think that Chi Chi would try to use her strength to try to slow down Chi Chi no matter what. But when it comes to Chi Chi, we know she has grown a lot. We have seen how much she has used certain techniques that would help her. You know, she did learn a lot from Suri. I know she learned a lot from her senpai, such as Suwama and Ishikawa. But of course, it was her. She applied a very amazingly guillotine headlock, and that way she was able to pick up the win by submission, and it was completely over. Now, of course, in this particular, she did a post-match promo. Many of you may not know this. Chi Chi's first opponent that she ever had in her debut match was against you, and as you all know, you will be retiring, of course, in December. So she requested for a match against her, and of course, that's going to happen in our next review, and it's the main event. So we'll get to that too. Now, our next match, we have Miya Yatsuba from Chocopro teaming up with Soy. They take on Sayaka Obihira, or as we know her, Obi. She teams up with Rina Yamashita. Now, as you all know, recently in Chocopro, as you know, Miya Yatsuba is from that promotion. She often teams up with Soy, and they have a great tag team dynamic. And they always have a unique way of doing things. But, however, we have seen Sayaka Obihira and Rina team up often, mostly in Choco Pro, whenever we see them. But of course, it's the experience that sets it all apart. I mean, these two, Mia and Soy, they're almost similar of in ring competition, which of course we in ring style the how long they've been wrestling that sets it up. But in the end, it was Mia Yamashita who picked up the win when she pinned Mia. Just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was done. Now, our next match, we have Dan Tamura and Toa Iwasaki. They take on Shota Kofuji and Shuji Ishikawa. So, of course, these guys are definitely going to go hard as possible, try to hit each other and try to take each other's heads off. And that's something that is particularly normal. But, however, in the end, it was, of course, I'm not sure it was a Death Valley bomb that was performed by Tamura onto Kofuji, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was done. Now, our next match, we have Muscle Sakai taking on Suwama. Now, this match ended quickly after because apparently Soy discovered that. No, never mind. This match it was took a turn. Now, Saki had his henchmen, other masked men showing up, helping out, doing all this. And when the referee was out, well, guess who came to the rescue? And guess who was by the side of Suwama? And that was, of course, Natsu Tsurime. So she was by her side, and she was able to help out Suwama by pulling the ref. And then, of course, um, it was Suwama with a bulldog choke onto Muscle Sakai. And just like that, 1, 2, no, it was a tap out, just like that. My bad about that. Now, our main event is the Evolution Women's Strong Championship. Zones making her second defense against Mikukane. Now, of course, Mikukane, we have seen her gaining a little bit of experience, learning more. You can say, was this wise of her? Tried to challenge this title this soon? I don't know. But she tried to hold on as much as possible. But unfortunately, it was not enough because it was Zones to walk away with the win when she applied a lariat. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. It was over. So I have to say, me kind of did pull up everything, but hopefully she'll get another opportunity at some point in the future. But We'll just have to wait and see. But as of right now, we're done with Volume 39, so let's move on with our last and final review with Evolution with Volume 40. Okay, final review of Evolution. We are in volume 40, and this happened, of course, early this month in November on November 5th in Shin Kiba First Ring. Now, we did see a bit of a post match, of a little promo coming from Chi Chi herself. Many of you may know this. I mentioned this, that her opponent that she'll be facing in the main event is actually her first opponent during her debut, and that is, of course, Yu. This was a match, of course, that was requested by her, but we'll get to that in a bit. Now, our first match, we have Soy. She teams up with Zones. They take on Chica and Yuna Manase. Now, for those who are not familiarized with Yuna Manase, she's part of Ganbare Pro, and not to mention she's been well recognized at some as a former mentor to many wrestlers such as Tam Nakano, Natsupoi, Saori Anu, Maiko Ozaki, Tai Hamna, Naokakuta, and a few others. So she teams up with Chica on this one. Now, some of you may think in some capacity that Soy and, of course, Zones will pick up the win since they have better experience with her in this match. But however, what surprised me is how Chica picked up her first win, and that win was, of course, applying. I'm not sure if it looked more like a judo throw, and just like that, she picked up the win onto Soy. Of course, she had a post match promo, and you can tell she was crying because she picked up an amazing win for herself. Which, of course, a first win is a huge major thing. I mean, nothing compared like Waka, who was the lovable loser like we always known. But, however, of course, Chica finally picked up a good win. And I don't know what she said to, of course, to Soy in the post match promo, but I'm sure there'll be a one-on-one match between those two at some point. Now, our next match, we have a bit of a three-way. We have Miku Kane versus Momoka Anazono versus Coyote Yonoyama. So, however, the one thing that we did see in most time is Miku Kane and Momoka. They did a little double team onto Coyote Yonoyama. The reason is this: Coyote Yonoyama is, in fact, a much stronger and much faster, and not to mention a veteran wrestler in this match, and you all think that she would pick up the win. But of course, when it comes to alliances, which is only temporary, they'll turn on each other, and that's exactly what happened. Excuse me. Well, we often see Momoka as a terror in the ring, and usually with her shenanigans, but in the end, it was Coyote Yorinama with the Okada roll onto Miku Kane, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, our next match, we have Junya Matsunaya taking on Shuji Ishikawa. Well, nothing too special on this one, but the match was pretty good until, of course, Shuji Ishikawa walked out as the victor when he applied a Splash Mountain, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, our next match, we have, of course, Abdullah Kobayashi. Many of you know him. He is a well-recognized deathmatch wrestler. You've seen him a lot, and of course, he was the one who gave the name Marika Kobashi at the time, and of course, that's how it's set up. He faces against Suwama, and of course, accompanying Suwama is, in fact, Nato Sirime. Now, however, this is what really happened. The match was called off as a disqualification because apparently Abdullah Kobayashi had some weapons that he's not supposed to carry, sharp ones, so that kind of disqualified him. So he decided during the post match that he was going to let him have his match, but this time, instead of having weapons that are sharpened, they're going to use weapons that could hurt you. And that's exactly what happened. He even took this match outside the ring, tried to soften up, of course, Suwama. But there was a great moment where, of course, we did see Natsu Sirime and the referee, many of you know him, Blackman Suri, they actually helped Suwama, and they actually used a bull rope right in between his gonads, which they were going back and forth. And of course, um, uh, Kobayashi was not happy with the referee helping him out, but in the end, of course, it was a lariat by Suwama that picked up the win. 1, 2, 3, done. Now, our next match, we have Yu versus Chi Chi. Now, as I mentioned this before, this was a match that was requested by Chi herself. Because as you all know, I mentioned this, Yu is now on set to retire by the end of this year on December 28th. And of course, many wrestlers are determined to have their final matches with her before she retires. And I mentioned this before when Evolution first started out. Chi-Chi's first official opponent was none other than Yu, and she feels like it was proper for her to have this match since she was the first person she faced, and she wants to be the one person that hopefully she can beat up and win. I mean, look, we all know Yu is a big and strong individual as a wrestler, which she is. I mean, she is strong, she is very deadly. But Chi Chi, we know she has grown a lot. We have seen her, how much she has changed, how much she learned from other wrestlers other than Suwama and Ishikawa. And we know that, she was a former Sendai Girls Junior World Champion, and that's so on, so on. But unfortunately, that didn't do any well for her because she ended up taking the last ride by Yu, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. And of course, we had a post match promo where Yu was talking to Chi Chi. I don't know what they said, but I'm sure it was a very uh, health heartwarm talk because I'm sure Chi Chi's saddened to see that this is the last time they ever face each other because I'm sure Chi Chi would have loved to have more matches with her, but you made her decision that she wants to retire, and no one blames her. But that's how things roll. Um, don't know if there is another Evolution event, so we'll end it right here. Move on with our last and final thing: news updates. Okay, welcome to a news update. So, as we have, of course, only one update for upcoming event. Of course, many of you know this promotion, Westside Extreme Wrestling, based out of Germany. Now, every year they have an event called the 16 Karat Gold, which is a 3-day event. They have already been announcing certain wrestlers. Now, this particular name has been now mentioned will be participating, and many of you know him, and many of you know him from back then, a part of New Japan. We're talking about Tranquilo. That's right. Tetsuya Naito is participating. So it's still unclear if Bushi will, but we'll stay tuned. I'm sure they'll be announcing more wrestlers as we go. So let's move on to some developments. Many of you may know this. I mentioned this on the last episode about Anna Jay. Fightful Select reports that it's still unknown if there have been some talking between both Anna Jay and AEW. Now remember, this sources have been confirmed that her contract will be expiring by very soon. But it's been expected that AW want to retain her. But of course, Anna Jay is open to potential exploring outside opportunities. It's still unclear if she meant by going to another promotion. That's pretty much it. We don't know. So we'll stay close to this. I'm sure many fans are have mixed ideas. Some would like to see her go somewhere else. Others would like her to stay in AEW. So we'll see what happens. Now, Japanese promotion called Kyushu Pro Wrestling based out of Fukuoka. Well, little interesting developments have been announced recently. Apparently, this promotion, as you may not know, they normally have male wrestlers wrestling, but however, now they're entering this age where now they're going to have female wrestlers in their promotion, and they're launching this division real soon. However, they are getting, in fact, help and they partnering up with Sendai Girls. Yes, the very same Sendai Girls. This project was aimed to develop, of course, female wrestlers. Meiko Satomura will be assigned as a supervisor, and many of you know this guy, of course. Tajiri is now assigned as the um, guidance instructor or something like that. I'm not sure, but yes, and of course there'll be some auditions coming up in next month at their dojo on the 20th of December. Uh, they talk about, of course, high school girls they want to recruit. I mean, it's been well known and documented in the Yoshi wrestling scene. They recruit high school girls. We've seen that, of course, with the Hanan sisters, with Hanan, Rina, and Hina, and of course, Shino, of course, is one of them too. So that's the idea. I'll stay close to this, see if there's any new developments regarding. Now, Kenny Omega recently was talking about Andrade, like he was really looking forward to see him come back. or something like that. But let me pull up exactly what he said. He made a statement regarding about Andrade. As you all know, Andrade has been in a limbo because he is, in fact, is in a 1 year non-compete clause, which is kind of BS in my opinion. Many of you may feel the same way. Oh, this is what Kenny Omega had to say. Andre and I have quite a bit of history actually. When he was La Sombra in New Japan, this was during the time when luchador wrestlers didn't really go on the prolonged tours in New Japan. It was kind of rare. He was just a guy who didn't speak much English or Japanese, and he could tell you can tell this guy's talent and through the root. What if the talent individual is very nice man too? To see him back in AEW was a happy moment for me because I felt that he really wanted to be there and do well. So now he's been sidelined for a little while, but I can't imagine that when he comes back, he'll still have the same amount of motivation. I think everything will be all right. Yeah. So Kenny's fine. Okay. Kenny is very happy to see him, but I'm sure many of us think about because of that whole non-compete clause, which I think is kind of stupid what they're doing. We know recently Andrade was in Tijuana, of course. He was not very happy because, of course, he can't wrestle whatsoever for a year, and not to mention they're not even paying him for nothing. But of course, we haven't heard anything about if Andrade is going to file the lawsuit out of the recommendation from David Otunga, of course, former WWE superstar who's now an attorney. That is still unclear. But Kenny, of course, he will love nothing more than to see him back, and I'm sure many people will love to as well. So we'll see what happens. I'll stay close to Andrade's story in much as possible and see how things will go. But as of right now, let's call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode coming up. As you all know, we have AEW Full Gear taking place. I also learned that we have, of course, New Japan with day 2 of the World Tag League. So I'm going to focus mostly on the B block matches only. So we're going to go with that. So we're just going to do 2 reviews, New Japan and AEW. And after that, we'll see what we can do from there. But until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye, and have a nice day. Bang.